Well, hey, friends, welcome. Really good to see you guys. I know that there's a big event going on right now at the BC, and I wasn't sure anybody was going to be here, but it's like most of our regulars are showing up. I mean, even Keith is here. I think he's at the event, if I'm not mistaken. No, is it over now?
I'm back. No, I got back yesterday.
Cool. Did you have fun?
Yeah, very informative. Met a lot of great people. Two things that I was after I was able to accomplish, and then I couldn't wait to get out of there because it was freezing.
Look at Billy laughing.
Freezing. I'm sure it was freezing.
Was it 50?
My lips have been chapped for 2 days now. I have to call out of work tomorrow.
The wind was blowing and it was like 45.
Yeah.
Talk to Robert. Do you want to talk about freezing? Robert's probably like 1 degree weather right now.
It's actually plus temperatures, I think, the last couple of days.
Wow.
But we still got about 3 feet of snow.
Gosh, I forgot what that was.
Yeah, freezing compared to Florida, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know why I live here sometimes.
Someone's got to. I mean, we can't all live in Florida. At
That
least not all
show
at
is not
once.
like your traditional glass build. I didn't know what to expect. It's completely different. It's more focused on education and future things that are coming to the market, and it's nothing like glass build. It's good. It's just not what I expected, but it was very good. It was sold out. I mean, I couldn't believe how many people were there. I think people were just yearning to get back out.
Plus, it was Nashville. That helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I
never
guess.
been to Nashville, but I hear it's really nice.
Fun place.
I mean, when it's not really cold.
Hey, you're a musician. You would love it there. Like every night, there's 120 something live music venues that you can choose from. It's pretty good.
I've heard that. I know, of course, it's a big music town, but people don't realize that it's not just country music. It's all kinds of music.
Yeah.
So
They also average between 200 and 250 bachelorette parties per weekend.
well, that's
My
gotta be
Uber
fun.
driver told me that, just a little FYI.
So if there was any information that Keith came out of the show, it was that. It stuck.
Money well spent.
There you go.
There you go. Talk about education. There you go. Well, hey, I just wanted to kind of open it up for questions tonight. Just see if anybody's got something that they're working on that they've got a question about, or something that's always bothered you. Want to get somebody's
I
opinion.
actually do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm working on a very large shower right now, three sides of glass. And I'm going to be hinging the door on a panel, and I'm thinking of using 12 mil. It's up on a knee wall, and I'm going to use 12 mil, which will be attached with a clamp to the return panel going back to the wall. Is it wise to do a 12 mil, but then everything else 10 mil?
What
So
kind of
it'll be
what
one
kind of
glass to
hinges are you
glass hinge
using?
at the top, and then Geneva glass to glass hinge at the top, and then it'll be a pony wall hinge at the bottom.
How big's the return?
The return is 50 by 54 tall.
And how big's the inline panel?
The inline is 12 and a half inches by 54 inches tall.
No header.
No header.
No. I don't understand why people do 1/2 inch and 3/8. To me, I mean, I guess for the weight purpose alone, but can't you see a difference in the color too? If it's like a white tie, I mean, we showcase that in our showroom. You can see the difference in the color. Plus, the glass doesn't line up right, so maybe water can bounce in between there. I never understood that. I would do 1/2 inch all the way around if it were me.
Well, that was my other question. They're requesting smoked glass, so it's, I don't know if you've ever seen or whatever. It's like a dark glass.
Gray
Um,
tinted. Yeah.
Either-
Gray tinted, exactly. So will that have, if I did use a 12 mil just on that one little inline, would it be darker than the rest?
Yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you use it on all?
Why?
Yeah.
I just was wondering if I should use 12 just because it's holding the door and I'm not using a header and I'm not using any like ghost header, whatever you guys call those. It's just glass, just frameless.
And like 54 inches wide.
Well, no, just the piece that'll be holding the door is 12 inches wide by 54 inches tall.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, 12 inches is,
3/8 is fine for that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. No, that was my question. I couldn't
Okay.
decide, and
So I'm going to pipe up because differing views are what we're all about. There's no way I'd
Absolutely.
do it.
That's
I
right.
would either do a header or those panels would go to the ceiling. Those are the only choices I would allow. I wouldn't be coming around. I follow the CRL guidelines for when you're hinging a door off of a panel. They say that panel should be 1/2 inch. It should be attached to the wall. You use GE 90S's, 2 clips at the bottom, maximum 22 inches, 1/2 inch. That's what I follow. I don't, you've got that big panel going back to the wall and then 12 inches. Now you're going to have an 80-pound door back and forth. Wouldn't do it.
CRL has a 12-inch guideline for that too.
Yes, that's right.
Hey,
So
Robert.
it's 22 inches if it's 1/2 inch glass.
Right.
But if it at 12 inches, CRL says you can use 3/8 glass.
But again, it's supposed to be attached to the wall. The
Yes.
panel that you're hinging the door off of is attached to the wall, not another return panel.
Well, that's what
Oh,
you're
here's-
talking about, right, Robert?
yeah, the 12-inch piece of glass will be attached to the return panel with a clamp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
see,
I
he's
misunderstood.
not attaching to the wall.
Oh, I thought.
Well,
it
he's
was the wall.
attaching half of it to the wall.
A pony wall, yeah.
Yeah,
Pivot hinge would be the best.
I'm sorry I didn't have time. I wanted to post this drawing on the Facebook so that you guys could look at this. It is a bit of a unique situation too, because the return panel is going up to and can only go as tall as the angled ceiling because it's in a 1.5 stories. So it's a bit of a unique situation. I'll post a picture of the drawing that I have and then a before and after of the shower to give you guys a better idea. But
I'd make
I
him
think
use a
I
header.
think it answers my question though, is that if I was to use 12 mil glass just in that front, it's going to be a different tint than the rest of it. So I'm just going to go 10 all the way and then I'll figure
Hey,
something out there.
Robert.
Yeah.
How important do you think that corner joint, let me rephrase this. How important do you think it is for that corner joint to be as strong as possible on a shower like this with no header?
Extremely important.
So why do you think having less glass touch on that corner would be stronger?
No, I wanted to use 12 mil on the 12-inch piece so I'd have more glass. So I thought that would be stronger.
Well, you'd have to do the 12 and the return because
And the return.
when we miter those two, we sit them right on top of each other and caulk them together. And I find 12 on 12 is going to be a lot stronger, less deflection in that 3/8 panel, be a lot more robust.
Yeah. Again, I apologize for the drawing because of this angled ceiling. The return piece of glass, I'm going to put a miter on it so that I can silicone that to the ceiling, I guess. So that would be strong. So that was my thought on that. But
Do you have the drawing do you have the drawing in front of you? Just hold it up to the camera.
actually, I do. I can go and grab it 1 second.
Yeah. See, I'm never a fan of doing a glass to glass and a pony wall hinge, because if you don't get those hinges perfectly concentric, they work against each other.
Mhm.
So I've never been a fan of that.
Yeah,
Robert,
I agree.
I don't know if you
consider-
heard that.
I would consider using pivot hinges there, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you got all the
90% of
weights
the
on
weight off
bottom.
of it.
Yeah. For all sorts of reasons.
I've
It
just been sitting
becomes
here
a-
waiting on Dobbins to
It
mention
becomes
pivots.
a
I was-
shear load instead of a tensile load, much stronger.
Billy just sitting back waiting for the time.
I was just sitting there thinking, why have the Dobbins not mentioned pivots? I was just waiting on that.
They're waiting for me to
Robert,
mention it.
that is a gold mine right there. I'd be licking my chops to do that job.
I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to it, but I've never used those pivots that you guys use a lot. Would that be a better idea here?
This will
Absolutely.
work. We sell against this, but this will work. I've seen it 1,000 times. But for the longevity, if you want to keep tight tolerances in between that glass, it's like using a pivot hinge is like, it'd be like holding my father up in my hands in the pool. It'd be a hell of a lot easier, instead of me just doing it out of the pool. And because now you don't have all that tensile weight constantly pulling. The weight is grounded on the floor, and the only way is holding it shearly. It's not a constant tensile load coming. I'm mixing up these terms, but it's grounding the weight on the floor. Much stronger. Much stronger.
No, I'm definitely down for that. So I'm really
I'm going to
looking
send you a
forward-
picture. I'm just going through my camera roll right now. We just did a job like this. I'm going to send you a picture.
Hey,
Okay, that
Chris,
sounds good.
But in my opinion, you could get away with the wall mount if you wanted.
correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't a shower eerily similar to this posted recently on the page? And they did a video and you could see the panel move around. There was a single clip on
Yeah.
the inline and it was cocking the panel. You could see it move every time they opened and closed the doors. And they asked if it was their fault as the glass installer or the manufacturer's fault for not telling them not to do it.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it was very similar to the layout you're talking about there, because they put a single clip on the inline, and then every time the door moved, it would pull that panel because it had a pivot point. So that was posted recently in the page.
That is right. And we learned that it broke a lot of miters from that once it started twisting.
Yep.
So Billy, maybe you didn't see this, but on the My clamp, we actually put 2 holes side by side just to alleviate that twist, because we already learned that lesson.
So I've
But
heard.
very good observation.
Yeah, I remember seeing that posted to the group. It was like that too, with glass to glass hinges.
Yeah, it was a hot topic. It was a hot topic. I mean, I didn't comment, but I feel like as the installation company, I need to have better knowledge. I don't rely on the manufacturer to tell me that I can or can't do something. Now, CR Lawrence throws up red flags, all the time on their stuff, but I don't rely on them to tell me yes or no. A lot of times I go to them and say, don't tell me I can't do this, just send it to me. So that conversation goes on a lot because we know what we can and can't do on our end. So.
No,
So
I had one-
Robert, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I had one similar to that video we were looking at where the panel was twisting, and every time the guy opened the door, it would twist, and the miters were touching, was chipping the glass.
Right, exactly.
But I thought the one he was talking about earlier, that pony wall that short panel was attached to the wall.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking there
Yeah.
was a short
Yeah.
panel on a
Yeah.
pony wall that was
Yeah.
12 inches wide. And it's like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, that's definitely too
But-
big to
But
swing.
this is different, What were you going to say, Shannon?
Well, I was going to say, so again, I wouldn't do it without a header, but if you are going to do it, keeping in mind that twist was happening down at the bottom. I noticed on your drawing, you have a 90-degree glass to glass clamp towards the top. What if you had another one? Did you say that was like 54 inches tall? What if you got another clamp that was a little closer to, where that twist was occurring on our previous post?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a possibility. I do have channel on the very bottom. So the glass will be sitting in channel and that'll be screwed down. So I wouldn't expect any twist, but I can put another clamp though, definitely.
I wouldn't, if you got channel, I wouldn't put a second clip. I think what
Yeah.
Shannon's saying, if you were only doing clips,
Yeah.
you might do that, but channel is going to give you that stability. You'll have at least 2 screws in it, so it'll stop the
Exactly.
bottom from spinning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
She's correct, but the fact that you're doing channel is taking that out of the situation.
Yeah.
Robert, what you may not have heard when you went to get the picture is I'm not a fan. I don't know about other guys, but I'm not a fan of mixing your two type of hinges, having a glass to glass up top and then a pony wall down below. Because technically you're supposed to line those pivot points up exactly concentrical so that they don't work against each other. And it's very, very difficult to do.
Well, you see pictures on, like the one I took out, it had two glass to glass hinges, and then it had a wall to glass hinge on the pony wall, and none of those pivot points lined up, period.
Right. And they're fighting against each other all the time.
Yeah, and you see these all the time in pictures.
Yeah. Well, you see them in pictures because they're not on a group like this. They find out the right way to do it.
And I mean, Cyril Lawrence makes the one pony wall hinge, and it does work, but.
Yeah, I just used that today. It was a glass to glass Geneva hinge with the Geneva pony wall hinge.
Yeah.
And as long as you have your, you know, what you said, all the pivot points all together, it works just fine.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because theoretically,
I like the idea of using those top and bottom pivot hinges, though. I think that could be a way to go. And that would, I think, alleviate everything.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it.
So
Yeah.
Robert, the other thing you mentioned was the Geneva hinge. Don't Genevas have like an 80-pound limit? I don't know that the size of that door. Genevas are pretty small. You might want to go to a Vienna if it's getting bigger than that.
The Genevas, I believe, are 120 or 105 or 120 with the two hinges. But this door is about 85 pounds.
Okay.
Well, and there's some limitations too when you go glass to glass with Genevas too. They won't support as much weight. I don't know. I mean, Showers Online will kind of break all that down for you.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, you know, like Shannon was saying earlier, you know, about those, you know, the kind of guidelines that come from CRL about, you know, how wide of a fixed panel you can have and still hinge glass off of it. I've noticed that when you're using pivot hinges, it's not showing any difference. So it's saying when you build a shower in Showers Online and you use pivot hinges instead of glass to glass, it still says you need the same rating of glass, you know, whether 3/8 or 1/2 inch. And that can't possibly be true.
Yep.
Right? Because I mean, you don't have any weight hanging off that. I mean, just a minimal amount of weight. So I feel a lot more comfortable kind of exceeding the recommendations when using the top bottom mount pivots. And, you know, like Bill was saying earlier, it's way easier to line those up, you know, and get that pivot point. I mean, even if they're not perfectly lined up, I mean, it's always a straight line between 2 points, no matter how they're lined up, right? So I would definitely recommend considering that.
So just taking advantage of this subject, most of the times I use like 1/2 inch panel and 3/8 doors. Even though with like top hinges, pivot hinges, or also wall hinges or glass hinges. And I'd like to hear from you guys if you guys also do the same 3/8 doors and 1/2 inch panels.
We rarely mix them, very rarely. I can't remember the
Never.
last one we did. I can't remember the last
Never.
one because you know,
most of
we like consistency, everything to line up, inside, outside. But
right,
like Keith said, the color difference. Even if you took 1/2 inch clear and 1/2 inch 3/8, 3/8 doesn't have as much iron, so it's got less finished in. If you go to low iron, 1/2 inch low iron, 1/2 inch 3/8 low iron, there's still a color difference.
And Victor, once we started scaling too and had more installation crews, what we started hearing more was, oh, I got all the way out there. I got 3/8 channel, not 1/2 inch channel. And then I got this. So like everything's separate. If it's a 3/8 job, it's got different colored packets, 1/2 inch job. There's no mix matching of that. And, you know, you can only imagine and multiply it by a tune of 35 trucks. That's a lot of potential headaches. And so consistency, you know, across the board.
Minimize the mistakes, right?
Yep. I'm done. just due to the manufacturer's recommendation. Whoever you use recommends different things. But I've never been happy with the way they looked with the 1/2 inch and the 3/8 door. So I've kind of went to where I'm doing the same, either 1/2 inch or 3/8 all the way around, depending on the size.
Steve, I'd like to touch on what you just brought up because that's really interesting. Everyone says manufacturer's recommendation. What are you talking about manufacturing? Because whoever you're buying from, they're not making the hardware and the glass. You're not getting a pre-boxed unit.
I guess
So-
the way I do it, I send drawings and then they do the showers online, all the stuff and make their designs.
Let's say, who's they?
Either Cardinal or whoever I send my drawing to.
Okay, the glass fabricator.
The glass fabricator.
Okay.
Yes,
They're
I guess
not
I had my term wrong. The fabricator.
So they're not a manufacturer is the point I'm getting to.
Right. Term was wrong. Fabricator.
Okay, that's different. Okay. Because a lot of guys say the manufacturer makes me do that, but they're not the manufacturer.
I think it's a terminology thing. I think when you're saying that, you kind of fumble your words but
Okay.
now I'll never do that again.
Never again. But I mean, I think when you're talking about showers online, the manufacturer is CRL, because they are the manufacturer of the hardware.
Of the hardware.
And that's why, yeah. But I mean, the classes,
They don't install.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think that's kind of what people are going with there.
You got to be careful where the information. I read a poll once that said if you play basketball, you're tall. Who's writing this information down? Like we all collectively have tried all these different things. So, I take their information sometimes on new parts. But that's only one facet. I like to talk to other people in the industry, especially this group now. You throw a question out there, there's 30 comments with people that there's one, Cyril Lawrence does it on paper. I feel like everybody in this group does it the way I do, the mechanical way. Like I get burned once, twice, okay, maybe 3 times, but I ain't going to get burned again. And we found that, 1/2 inch all the way across the board has been, or 3/8 across the board. As a salesperson, I like to say 1/2 inch just because I get more commission that way as the sale goes up higher.
Yeah.
But it's also stronger, less likely to have people complaining about it wobbling. I like it's better caulking wise. It fills up the channel a little bit more. For our channel, it's just got a nice ledge on it. It's just, I could caulk it in like 2 seconds.
And price wise, the difference is not that much too.
Well, it's not much to you, but depending on how you sell it, it's a nice value add, I think. Most people, depending on what their perception is, they want something that feels solid and strong. I mean, it's more weight. Seems like a no-brainer to me.
How about the 1/2 inch doors on glass on wall hinges? Because you guys do mostly pivot hinges, right? Pivot hinges for sure. Yeah. Got it. Yeah,
because
pivot hinges, I'll be safe. But I'm not sure like on wall hinges.
They've been around forever, Victor. So it's easy to bash them. They work, but just think over the life of your span of installing shower doors. A pivot hinge will have 4 holes that you're going to drill into the tile. Wall hinges are going to have 8. So if you're a numbers guy, you plan on installing 10,000 doors over the next couple of years, and I'm going to install 10,000 doors over the next couple of years. I'm going to drill half the amount of holes, half the amount of tiles are going to break, half the amount of screws, half the amount of anchors, half the amount of drill bits, half the amount of time, which you will not be able to buy
back. Time is
precious.
Hey, let me ask you, I know I asked this question of Bill at one time, but I'm loving this whole pivot thing, but what are you doing with fiberglass pans, drilling down into fiberglass pans? I mean, is that a concern of anybody's, or not everybody's got a granite cap on the bottom. You got bullnose coming across there, or Schluter. Back here, a lot of guys are using those Schluter, foam, high density foam bases. And do you have any issues with this from a pivot standpoint?
It's the tile that's holding it. There's rarely backing underneath any of these jobs that we do. So it's the tile that's holding these hinges.
Oh, Mike's talking about is on the base, right? It's a fiberglass
Right.
base.
Yeah.
But even that, like if you're screwing down into a Schluter system that has a styrofoam base or curb, and then it's just tile, it's just a tile that's holding that pivot. So that would be the same for the fiberglass bases too.
So Mike, before we moved to Florida, we had our location in Massachusetts. And we did quite a bit of pivot doors on fiberglass units.
Mhm.
Quite a
No
bit.
issue. I mean,
No?
When
Now,
okay, when there was an issue, Mike, let's say an installer got a little loose on his drill and the anchor was spinning in there and he didn't put all the adhesive in, we had actually developed a plate that was the same size as the bottom of the pivot hinge with like these two little expansion nipples on it, and we would just drop that down and epoxy it underneath the pivot hinge, and then we would thread the pivot hinge down through that. But it took all the weight off the wall instead of trying to hang. You know, once those hinges pulled loose on a wall, now what am I going to do?
right.
Because
no,
you got 70, 80-pound door.
Yeah. I'm bought in with the pivots. I like it. The concern was because we've been wall mounted for so long. The concern was that, especially on the fiberglass, you know, does that thing walk out after a while? Are you using it? I mean, are you using some type of, you mentioned epoxy, Keith, but I love that plate idea too. I mean, that just reinforces that down there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm with you on the pivots. I've been the help for the last 3 weeks. That's all we've been trying to
There's
design.
so many benefits. So many benefits. Especially the installers, because our installers for a while, someone, you know, we're used to doing it this way, used to doing it that way. Yeah, I get it. How much do you like drill and tile? I hate drill and tile. Well, then you're going to love the pivot hinge because I just cut your time in half.
Mhm.
Half.
Right.
Mike, a lot of people don't know this. We have 6 affiliate stores that are not even in Florida. 2 of them are in Minnesota, 1 in Michigan, and they're doing pivots all the time on fiberglass units, all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask a question. Came up this week. So I am used to heated floors and was notified that there was heated floor in the bathroom, but didn't consider that they carried the heated floors directly into the shower, you know, the entry into the shower. That wasn't mentioned to me. So I designed the shower to be on pivots. It's large doors. They're 30 by 96 inch, half-inch doors. So didn't get word on the heated floors traveling, you know, directly into the shower till afterwards. And I've got to attach those pivots in the floor because I'm not buying hinge doors that are 30 by 96 half-inch glass and hanging them on the wall. So that's the dilemma I'm in right now.
Easy.
Did you drill already?
No, we haven't.
Oh, you're in luck.
No. Open to
just
ideas.
had
I've
this.
got ideas, but I want to hear other people's opinions on
Did
that.
you order the glass
We
yet?
just had this.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just had it at Ganassi, and it shorted out the radiant heat in the floor. And we put the glass where they told us, no one told us about radiant heat. But when you're doing a pivot hinge, it's not necessary to have a screw that embeds into the concrete 3.5 inches. Just not necessary. Like technically, you could drill 2 1/4-inch holes and put a dowel in there because all you're doing is preventing. It's never going to lift up, and you're just preventing it from twisting.
Yeah.
And so, if you got 1/4, 5/8, let's say 3/8 tile with 1/4-inch mud bed, you could probably get away with a 3/4 countersink screw
Okay. So
and just silicone the shit out of it down. That's not going to go
We're
anywhere.
on the same page. They located wires, or at least where the radiant heat would show under the thermal gun. So it looks like we're going to be way off on the rear screw. So I think I can get a good attachment there. But then the front screw, that's what I was going to do, is get more or less a stud, you know, just drill tile, epoxy it, stud it out so I don't get a pivot point and I get 2 attachments. That was my plan because they came back to me and said, well, what are these things you're wanting to put on the floor anyway? They're used to wall hinges. And I was like, well, I'm not hanging, you know, this massive door on the wall so I can come back. You know, we're dealing with slip doors like crazy because the temperature on homes is moving like crazy right now in our area because we're 20s in the morning and 60s in the afternoon. So the houses are moving around like crazy. So we're getting calls, you know, probably 3 or 4 a week on glass touching. And it's always the door has slipped. Well, I don't know if it's the door slipped or the openings, you know, compressed or what's going on when the temperature rises in the house. But so I'm using that on these because I don't want this problem. But this is the first time I've ran into heat traveling. I've even seen it in the shower, but they'll run it around the edges, so they're not running it where you have to attach into the floor. So this was a first in the thousands we've done, where it's sitting right where we've got to go in and attach. But that was my plan. I didn't know if anybody else would have any keen idea on that.
So Billy, too, if you want to be safe, you can rent a heat gun over at Home Depot and just during the install, turn on the heat, check the location, and then you know for sure. I mean, it's like $40 and it's $40 for peace of mind. So that you can always do that too.
They did a thermal test last week on it with the company that put the heating in the floor to try to locate, where it ran across the curb or lack of curb, the zero entry. So they've marked it, but there's always a little fudge room there because the thermal is going to. Yeah, it's going to.
I don't trust anybody.
Turn it on. So.
Billy, let me go back to the question. You've already ordered the glass?
Oh yeah, I've had the doors. We were installing and they stopped us in the middle of the install.
Because there's another way around it. You know the WBU that you put on the top of the hinge?
Yeah.
To hold it to the wall, you can put one at the bottom and screw to the wall instead of the floor.
Okay,
but you would want to
that.
modify your notch.
I thought about that too, but I was afraid of how much it was going to lift the door off the floor and then getting my profile right across the top, because we have already installed the fixed panel. Because they were fixed panel over to the door and then they got stopped by the contractor. So.
All right.
That's a good idea though, Bill.
Yeah, you just modify your notch on the bottom like you would if you wanted the WBU to be flush, like if you were mounting a transom and you want that flush.
Yep.
You just put it on the bottom and then you screw into the sidewall. We do that on cast iron tubs at times, so you don't want to drill into it.
So here's a fun story that this is the second round of these doors, because I ordered them the first time and my glass fabricator, not my manufacturer, they wanted to put senior primas or, large pivots on the door and would not accept me saying I didn't want that bigger cutout because their system told them they had to have it. So they sent the doors to me with a large pivot cutout. I refused them, sent them back. And then this is the second set of doors. Had I known this beforehand, I could have adjusted the cutout to allow the profile of the door to get lower where it needed to be. But we're already into the second set of doors, so we got to figure out how to make these work because I got people living in the house at this point. So yeah, that was my idea, was to put a stud in to replace the screw on one end, so I don't get that pivoting action of the door.
Yeah,
and hopefully they worked them right.
That'll work.
Bill, what's a WBU? It's not a
it stands for Wall Bracket Universal. It looks like a pork chop. And if you order pivot hinges from C.R. Lawrence, you have to identify them as a left or a right hinge.
Yeah, CAR07.
And it's the bracket that fits on top that you actually screw into the wall, correct? So our version is called WBU, Wall Bracket Universal. You can make your door a left or a right hinge depending on what you want using the same bracket. And you also use that bracket on the bottom hinge if you want to screw to the wall instead of down to the floor or threshold or something like that.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the C.R. Lawrence? I think the part number was the Prima PPH01s. Is that the same hinge that you guys are talking about?
05s.
The
They're
05.
05s.
So I'm talking about my shower door hardware is what I'm referring to when I'm talking about it. But the PPH01 and PPH05 are the relative C.R. Lawrence version of what I'm referring to.
Yep.
So then the part that Keith and Bill were, and most of you guys were recommending that I use on my drawing would be one of those PPH 05 on the bottom, but then that inline to door on the top.
No, it would be an 01 on the bottom and an 07 at the top. The 07 is the one that goes across the panel and then on the door. That's an 07. And 01 is just the standard thing on the bottom.
Okay, I'm going to look that up in my parts book.
Yeah,
right
but
away.
his is actually a neo.
Oh, was it a neo?
It's not an inline.
They're both 90 degrees. Or like, sorry, no, you're right. Sorry, yeah, it's an inline.
Ish, right? Yeah, so it's a different part number.
Hold on, Robert, hold that picture up again.
Hang on. I'm just looking for my parts book too. Those are both 90-degree joints there too.
Oh, it's just drawn as it's drawn as a
Oh,
135.
okay, it is
Yeah.
an inline. It is a one.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just use your inline pivot to the glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put a level on that fucking thing? I don't see anything on a square.
No, that shower, that
Perfect.
shower is it's not even tile. It's like a cement base, and then they've just gone over top of it with like can't you remember what the compound was that they used? It's like 1/8 of an inch like paint basically.
Like a
And
veneer.
Is it perfect?
It's perfect.
Wow.
Like
You're
I'll take a
lucky.
picture. Like I've not seen a shower like this before. Sorry, I've seen one before like this before, and it's beautiful. Like it
Yeah,
is
put it in
really,
the group.
Yeah.
No blue tape.
Yeah, no blue
No blue
tape.
tape.
yeah.
Robert, my only concern would be if you're going to be able to access an 07 right now and whatever finish you're looking for, because that, I
Matte
mean,
black.
we've hit on this like crazy. Anything outside the box from CR Lawrence right now, it's just keep your fingers crossed that you might find it at the location near you, or maybe they'll ship it from somewhere else. But the other locations don't get real excited about shipping stuff out that
What's
they
your
have.
finish?
Oh,
What's
there
your
it is.
finish, Robert?
Matte black.
Oh, 07 doesn't come in matte black.
Oh, for the love.
Oh,
of
wait, no, a Prima does. Sorry, we do Cardiffs mostly. So Prima does come in matte black.
The
Yeah.
Primo is what I was going to use. Yeah. Okay. No, I see the part right there. No, that's. I think I'm going to recommend that. Then I've met the designer there today.
Back ordered to the end of April.
Yeah.
Well, Moss usually takes about two weeks to get them in anyway. So
They got all bronze in 07s. I got 4 of them coming.
Close
Oh, yeah?
enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Tim cheats. He's right down the road from Los Angeles. He cheats.
I see those pictures of people picking up directly from CRL. I get so jealous.
No, they ship to me. I mean, I can drive to Union City. That's an hour and a half away if I want to, but
Ugh.
It's not 7 hours.
no.
And we talked about that. That's what, 8 blocks away, Tim?
What's that?
That means it's only about 8 blocks away?
Yeah.
Takes an hour and a half?
Well, I drove up there the other day to pick up 10 lengths of base shoe.
Nice.
See? Cheating. That's
To Union
cheating.
City.
That's cheating, Tim.
Saved me about $400 and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, I
don't
have
know.
another top pivot hinge question. So while we're talking about this, so is that the majority when you're doing your pivot hinges, the majority of your top hinge is at you're doing the pork chop hinge to the wall?
Yes.
What do you do? I mean, I obviously have worse luck than any of you. I don't live a charmed life. What do you do? There's so often we get out there and we have plans to do that. The next thing you know, the wall's out this direction. Now you can't do that because your top hinge is over here and your bottom hinge is over here and they're not going to line up. So then now you have to go to a 1/2 inch and now you're telling the customer, oh gosh, it's going to be $500 more than we told you it was going to be, and we have to change the whole thing.
I thought you cut your own glass.
We do. But
Why wouldn't you just cut the glass out of square?
okay, so your okay, so your
I know where
wall,
she's going. She's
your
talking
wall
about
looks like this. So your top hinge is over at the wall over here. Your bottom hinge is over here. Are you gonna like lift the side of that bottom hinge so that it's kind of running up that wall so that you're in line? I mean, when I'm putting that hinge down here on the bottom and I'm bringing it up here, now I'm way out here, but I can't attach to the wall when I'm way out here.
Why aren't you getting your glass out of plumb?
Well, even if you brought the glass out of plumb, I know what you're saying, but we have a little filler piece that would go in between the WBU and the wall. I mean, if it's out more than
They
a 1/2
threw
an
it
inch
out
over
a little
6
bit.
feet,
Okay.
that house is probably going to fall over. I mean, I think we've had it,
I'm exaggerating.
3/4 of an inch maybe was the max. And
Okay.
then between cutting the glass out of square and putting a little filler piece between our lamb chop and the wall is how we rectify that.
Okay, because without a pivot or without a filler piece, that makes sense. But without a filler piece, you've got, one hinge here and one hinge over here. And, you need your hinges to be.
Let me
lined
ask
up
you, what do you
good
do when you
forever.
use wall mount hinges in that case?
Well, in wall mount hinges, now my hinges are here and here, and my door has an angle to it.
So the hinges are shooting up at about 11 o'clock?
The hinges are, they're together, they're still in line. My door is, but I've cut my edge out on my door.
Shannon, your hinges can't be in line.
What's that?
Your hinges can't be in line. If you took a plumb bob and put a string on your top hinge at the bottom and dropped it down, it's going to bottom out against the wall. It's not going to be concentric with your bottom hinge. It's
Are you
not.
talking about on a wall to wall?
Yes. No, on a glass to wall.
Glass to wall.
On a glass to wall, which is what you're talking about. Your wall is, let's say it's a ½ inch out of
My
plumb.
wall's out and I got my door.
Yeah,
on
and
And
the-
you've got your door. So
Yeah.
let's say your wall's a ½ inch out of plumb, right? And you're putting your top hinge on, then your bottom hinge on. Those hinges are not concentric. The pivot point is a ½ inch off.
Same concept, it should be.
Yeah, any two hinges, if the wall is out of plumb, the
Right.
hinges will not be plumb. They can't be, whether they're
Can't be.
wall mounted or whether they're top and bottom mount. But the thing is, if you've got a pivot hinge, the hinges are at the very top and at the very bottom of the glass. They're more likely to line up than they are if you've got hinges at quarter points or eighth points or whatever points they are in the glass. I mean, it's like, because from the very top of the glass to the very bottom of the glass isn't exactly a straight line. You don't have to worry about the wall. You see what I mean? It's actually, I know what you're saying, and we've been led to believe that you can't really use pivot hinges if the wall is out of plumb. But that's completely wrong. It's actually the opposite of that. You're better off using. Am I right, Bill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who was it just said? Was it Mike or Billy was saying that? Oh, Billy was saying how he's getting these callbacks. Either the walls are shifting because of the cold weather or the door's slipping out. It is the number one callback in frameless shower doors is the glass coming out. And a lot of that is because the hinges are not concentric on the wall-to-wall ones, and there's nothing in that notch to lock the glass in. You read on this post over and over again, what's the best way to block them in there? Everybody's worried about blocking them. And when you go to the pivots, there's a nipple on the edge of the glass. The glass can't go anywhere. It can't. It's locked in. The wall mount hinges are open on the end and they're going to pull out. It is the number one reason for callbacks in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, there isn't, the glass isn't hanging off the wall. There's no reason for the glass to shift like that.
Exactly.
Because the majority of the weight is on the bottom pivot anyway.
If you grab a phone book and hold it out in front of you, how long can you hold that before it wants to pull out of your hands? But if you put it on the shelf while you hold it, you can hold it forever.
What's a phone book?
The one today you
Yeah.
can. They're only that thick.
Yeah,
For that.
good point.
Hey, Shannon,
I'm glad he switched to a phone book instead of holding his dad over the pool. That was
Well, because he was real heavy.
If I hang my dad off a cliff, how
A lot
long
of
do you think I'll be?
Well, it's all muscle. It's all muscle.
Shannon, here's the kicker though, and we've talked about this before. I remember having this conversation with Christina months ago, is if you have a wall that's, bad enough to where you don't feel like putting the pivots on it, or you don't feel comfortable putting the pivots on it, then use wall hinges. It's not something like you have to like make a switch and just, you can only use one or the other. If you've got a wall that's, say 3/8 or greater and you don't feel comfortable with the pivot, then just use a wall hinge. You're already been using wall hinges anyway. It's just an alternate option to eliminate issue is kind of the way I look at it. We still use both, all the time, but the pivots give you, a little added advantage sometimes. Especially we've moved to pivots almost predominantly on all of our heavier 1/2 inch, what we call a heavy duty or upsize door. Just because I know it's more likely to have issue. So I don't use pivots for everything by any means. I am not as fortunate as the Dobmans where I make my own glass and I can dictate those cutouts where as I want them. I'm kind of handcuffed by that. So I still use both, but I try to go to the pivots when I know there's more likelihood that there's going to be a problem due to weight, due to size, due to width of the door, that kind of thing. So,
Or a weird wall or something too is
Exactly.
a nice reason to go to a pivot. Yeah.
And I'm glad that that topic came up, because actually there was a comment in the chat on Facebook that Shane made talking about issues with pivots when the walls are out more than 3/16 of an inch. So I'm glad we covered that, because I wanted to bring that up anyway. You know, it's really interesting. Whenever I listen to the Dobmans talk about this, I think these guys have like figured something out that is really so brilliant. And they're so willing to share this with the industry. And it's like, they're almost so far ahead of us that we can't really grasp what they're talking about. It's almost like having Einstein on the call. He's trying to tell you, dude, look, man, it's just like, you know, equals MC squared. I mean,
This is
it's
embarrassing.
obvious, right? It's obvious.
Chris,
It's like everybody's
Chris,
like, well, wait a
you know
minute.
Keith is on this call.
Yeah.
Right?
I
You know-
love
you know-
you, dude. You're my bestie.
No, but it's hilarious, because like it's so brilliant. You guys are like cleaning up because but you're so generous. They're like, you're not just sitting on it. You're like offering everybody like this information, and they probably
We
don't
want to
want
get
to say
ahead.
this.
We want to get ahead, and we learned early, man. As you started scaling, it's like, where can we get better? Where can we get more proficient? And the callbacks, those were killer. The breaking of the tiles, those were killer. Especially when there's 5 crews going out, half of them come back. This job didn't get finished. That you start finding the common denominator. It's a no-brainer, and it's not like we're selling them on the group here. So it's kind of unbiased just to share. These are best practices that we found help our bottom line. I mean, it's period. Bottom line.
Yeah, and these pivots, I have to say too, are like so superior. Like you're talking about like the CRL pivots or whatever, it's like the ones that my shower door has are so superior. And it's like,
You're gonna
I
have a
think
set of these in your hand before next week's podcast, buddy. Any finish you want.
Dude, I've
got
got
them.
some in
I was gonna
stock
show the
right now.
pork chop. Here's the pork
Right,
chop.
see,
There
I
you
can
go.
run
It over.
You can use the same, like I think what Billy was alluding to earlier is like he's talking about he's getting these 1/2-inch doors, these big ass 1/2-inch doors, and he's getting the regular size cutout. And that's because these pivots work on 1/2-inch glass. You don't need, like a senior series of the pivot to handle it, because like they're just beefy, man, as hell. I mean, it's like they'll carry the weight. And so yeah, it's a great, dude, you guys killed it on that. I mean, congratulations, man. I just absolutely love your hardware. Every time I get a chance to use it, I'm just like, check this out, man. This is like,
Think about this too. You know what Keith was saying?
Love you, Chris.
Half the number of holds, right? Half the
Yeah.
number of chances of cracking tile.
Right.
Half the number of drill bits. You know what a nuisance that is to keep the truck stocked with drill bits and these guys go through them like butter? You got half of that to worry about too. Just the positiveness.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then going back to talking about drilling into acrylic or
fiberglass.
Fiberglass. I would much rather use one of these things on fiberglass or acrylic than one of those wall mount hinges, because like Keith was saying, I mean, it's just like all it is it's the shear, right? You don't have to worry about tensile strength because there's nothing pulling the screw out. You're only using the shear strength, so it doesn't matter if it could be a 1/2-inch screw. It's not going to shear off, and unless somebody comes and grabs that door and tries to pull it out of the floor,
Now-
And then you get to sell them another one.
Exactly.
Now, Chris, we're only talking about the bottom hinge here, but on a fiberglass unit, the top hinge runs into a different scenario because it's hollow and you're only fiberglass. So sometimes we run a header. Sometimes we put a fixed panel of glass. So we'll do a door with flanking panels on fiberglass and then use a glass to glass bracket for the top hinge.
Right.
Oh, we also found that toggle that
Yeah,
requires a hole that's less than the thickness of our WBU. That way, if it is hollow behind there, we can put 2 toggles in there and then they ain't going anywhere.
that's right. Yeah,
They'll still hide behind your bracket.
Yeah. Yep.
Sweet.
I do feel almost embarrassed to ask this, but you guys are describing this something as pork chop?
Steve, hold it up. Steve's got one in front of him. Right there. Yeah, there you go. There's the pork chop shape.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
where is it?
There you go.
Where is he? I want to see. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Let's
So-
go.
It is so nice, man, because it's not handed. You can be used on the left or the right. It fits
Yeah, there's a
together
little
so
bracket that
sweet,
slides in.
man. And it's just, it looks good. I mean, it's so superior to the competition.
Okay.
There is no competition.
Keith's going out tonight. Keith, you going out after this? You're feeling good right now, bro.
I'm in love.
Same Z's.
And that's Shannon was saying, that doesn't raise the door up at all, or it does a little bit?
Wait, that's a top bracket.
That's
That's
the
on-
top one.
Yeah, the bottom goes straight into your threshold.
But you were saying that you could use that on the bottom if you needed to
Yes.
sometime.
But you
But
would
that
you would modify your notch so the hinge goes in deeper in the glass and the
Gotcha.
WBU
Yeah.
sits flush with the bottom of the door.
Okay,
If you use it on the bottom, we rarely use it on the bottom, but in heated floors, or
Yeah.
if the guys do not want to drill into a porcelain or ceramic or iron tub and crack the finish, then we'll screw
Yeah.
it to the wall instead.
cool. All right. Learn something every time I come on here.
That's the idea.
Robert,
That's a
when
good
are you
one.
doing that job?
I'm ordering the glass tomorrow. So I'll probably be back in 3-4 weeks, I guess, to,
You
Well-
already closed the deal. You already closed the deal.
yeah, it's all closed, yeah.
Attaboy.
Good for
Nope.
you. He's going out tonight.
Yeah.
No, and I just, I've been working on this job for about 1.5 years now, and I just ordered the first 14 of 100, well, phase 1, there's 113 10 mil glass shower doors in a condo. Just ordered the first 14 of them Friday.
Good for you, man.
That is,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a big job. It's a notched inline panel with a door and an inline panel.
You better get your
Sounds
helper
like a hell
there.
of a time to train a helper.
I've got 2 guys now, so, and I hired the third guy just for this job alone, so
Good for
it will
you.
be there a while, I'm
Good
sure.
job, Robert. That's awesome.
It's
Good
it's
job.
it's because you guys have given me more will and incentive and just
Confidence.
confidence,
Let's go.
wanting to go out there and just get more work, because before I was just on my own. I had enough work. I didn't need any more. But now, talking with you guys, I want to do more frameless. I want to do more 10 mil and just, yeah, no, it's been great. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're
Four guys,
welcome.
Robert.
Keep going.
4 guys. Then you don't lift glass anymore. You just check it, make sure it's good. Watch the numbers. 4 guys. That's what you need. Do that whole job and don't lift a piece of glass.
Yeah, well, that'll take a while to get there. I'm too
You can do it,
picky
dude.
and
You can do it.
picky and anal and just,
You can
was
do
like
it by the end of that job, you can do it.
2 weeks ago, you
Absolutely.
was just you and a helper 2 weeks ago. You
That's
got it.
right. That's right.
Can't
You got
get rich
this.
off the sweat of your own brow.
yeah, that's true.
Hey, there's a question in the chat about your pivots and asking if there's height limitations for the door on your pivots.
I just did a 96 tall, attached off a wall, 32 wide. We don't really like to do more than that. Got to guarantee that there's studding in the wall, but no problems. I actually have probably done 100 of those over the years, but it has to have a stud in the wall. Has to,
Yeah.
And we did
Or-
one last summer
and
that
that's
was
12 mil, half inch.
Yeah, we did one that was 110 inches. And but same thing, we had to have studs in the wall to make sure.
Actually, we've done an office partition using the same thing, and we just took the top hinge and went up into the ceiling. It was a drop ceiling, so we put wood over the top of the grid and the thing, and then we used very long screws in the top top hinge. We went up through the acoustic tile and into
Yeah,
the
but we
wood
don't want to
stud
go
above
more
it.
than 96 on those. If you want them to last long like that, 96 is probably the max,
Yeah, you
just
have no
because of
problem.
weight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go that tall in anything. I mean, you start to get so much bow and it's really hard. I mean, I hate going more than 80 really because it just starts to bow and stuff.
If
Of
it's
course,
a shower,
just
they
me
can't
too.
even,
I can only lift so much.
you know, on a shower, they can't even clean it. They can't even reach it to squeegee it. If it was
Yeah.
a shower.
Yeah.
True that. I guess you need a tall wife and get one of those.
Careful,
Okay,
Chris.
watch the sexist comments.
Yeah,
Whoops.
careful, Chris.
I didn't say anything.
Sometimes I forget, you know.
Ah, I keep you guys
worker.
honest.
Construction
Nobody
worker
cleans
at
my
heart.
shower better than me.
There you go.
No,
Of course, I have a cleaning lady, so you know. whatever.
You don't have a cleaning guy?
It's a husband-wife team. I can't actually tell who cleans the shower. I don't
All right.
actually know. It could be.
Full disclosure.
Well, when my wife tells me to squeegee the glass, I tell her, yes, dear. Well,
Wow,
speaking
was-
of that, I think
Was
I
that
hear
a fast hour or
I think
what?
you're calling me.
Yeah.
Dinner bell.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, you guys got some good topics out there.
That
Yep.
hour flew.
Yeah, I'll call my glass manufacturer tomorrow and get some things squared away. Fabricator.
That away, Steve. That away, Steve.
Steve, do you have all the notch details for that stuff?
I do, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
We've
forget
hooked-
to put those setting blocks in there when you set that between that nipple. That thing you'll never have a callback. Never.
Got it.
Nice. Right. Yeah. You got to learn the nomenclature. You know, it's like there's this guy who was on a ship one time and he went up to the captain, told him, "Hey, Captain, I'm done mopping the floor." The captain says, "Hey, we don't call that the floor. Call that the deck. That's the port deck. That's the starboard deck. And if you don't get this terminology correctly, I'm going to stuff you out to one of those little round windows."
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay, that's it.
A great way
Chris,
to
we
end
got
it.
we got an older gentleman in the back, and when he started there, during COVID, he'd come up and I'm like, "Come on, just pound me." And he goes, No, I don't do that.
I'm good.
Gotta get the nomenclature right.
All right.
Wow.
Thanks for showing up. We'll see you next week.